Hey, this is Kenneth, and you are listening to Who Asked Us? Deep thoughts, lighthearted conversations. Join us as we discuss our way through the Bible with a growing, rotating panel of guests, none of which claim to be experts on any of this. We hope you get just as much out of these conversations as we did having them. Thanks for listening.
Some comedian even said I bring a pair of shit shoes to work so I could change my shoes in the bathroom so nobody knows who's in there, and then I'll change them back when I go back to my desk.
No, I know it's Eugene when he walks around. He's got them Chelsea boots on. Love them Chelsea boots.
Yo, some dude named Dax is like, every time I hear clicking, it's either you or Michelle.
Every time I hear you clicking, I feel like if you're clicking when you walk, you gotta revamp.
Oh my God.
So
I wear heels. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, let's dive in. So for this one, we're gonna do like an actual just live read through and kind of stop as we go along and dissect. We kind of thought would be kind of fun. So just a reminder, we're on Genesis 18. I'm not 18. I'm sorry, Genesis 9:18. Genesis 9:18.
Genesis 9:18. The sons of Noah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, and just so we know, just like last reading. Sorry that I think I'm hosting this, but
No, you're fine.
we have different texts, but it's all essentially the same readings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's exactly what I was about to say. Is like just a heads up so it doesn't confuse anybody, including us. Kenneth, you want to start?
Do I have to read it?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is old school.
You're such a good reader.
Mhm.
I honestly thought you were going to read it too.
Yeah. I'll read it for you. I'll pass it on. The sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine, and became drunk, and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." He also said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. And may God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. I'll stop there. I know there's more, but I'll stop there. It's a lot to take.
So, what did Canaan do?
That's what I was. What?
That is a great question.
Like,
So, do we need to continue reading to figure that out, or is that something that we can figure out within the context of the text right here?
I don't know, because I already I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is obviously not the same Canaan, like from Cain and Abe. Oh, that was just Cain.
Yeah,
It's so
two different
embarrassing.
names, completely differently spelled.
Well, 'cause
they
it's
both
Cain
start
and-
with C, so they
Cain
may
and
be
Abel.
almost the same.
Maybe it's Canaan.
You're not alone on this island. I was feeling the same way.
I don't know. Because I guess we always say Cain and Abel, and I'm just saying Canaan who? Canaan, nobody else.
Cain and Japheth.
Cain and Japheth.
So, I mean, I guess one way to do this, because I have a lot of different things in my mind, a lot of different interpretations and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
what, from face value, what do you guys understand to have happened just in this rest of this chapter?
Well, I think that the father's dead, and they think that Canaan did it. Well, not dead. He is severely injured because they covered it. No, he's dead. I'm sorry. I think
He's dead, but it says he woke up. When you're talking about Noah, the father, or you're talking about
Yeah, it sounds
you're
like
talking about
he
Ham,
woke
the
up,
father
but
of
like
Canaan or Canaan or whatever.
Oh, you mean
Um,
the Ham, the father of Canaan?
the father of Canaan, and it sounds like he didn't physically wake up. It sounds like his ghost woke up and he said, "Okay, Canaan, you shall be haunted and be slaved, and then everyone else can stay in the house and be great." Like that's what it sounds like. This is the first read through though, so maybe after reading it again, we'll
Are you getting that because of how they covered him up? Kind of like how they do cover up like a dead body?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because I got it like from my read. I guess I'm taking it more literally. Excuse me. Like, so like to me, it sounds like Noah got drunk, which it sounds like is not a great thing because of how vulnerable you become, and he passed out naked because he was drunk, is what it sounds like to me. And then his sons were like, "Ugh, come on, man! Like that's obviously not a good place, to find your father in. Like it's kind of shame. It sounds like it's a shameful thing to be, I mean, remember, Adam and Eve were naked and they were embarrassed by it and they felt they needed to cover up. So like being naked is obviously now kind of like a negative thing, right? And they were like, we're not going to look at this. We're going to still respect our father by not looking at his nakedness, and we're going to cover him up. And then he ended up waking up the next day, and he was sober now. And that's when he said all that stuff. But what I find interesting is, so it says Ham, the father of, I'm going to say Canaan. I feel like it's just, I don't know. I'm going to say Canaan. Ham is the one who found him, which means Ham saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. It doesn't say he was doing anything good or bad. Maybe he was like, he saw it and was like, hey guys, go look at him or something. Like it doesn't say the nature of how he saw it. And then, his brothers were the ones, Shem and Japheth were like, all right, we'll cover him up in a respectful way. Like, why didn't Ham do that? But here's the thing though. It doesn't say that like, I don't know, maybe he found him naked and went to his brother and said, guys, what are we going to do? And they were like, we're going to do this. Or he saw his dad naked and they were like, guys, look, dad's naked in there. And he maybe disrespected his father in that way. I don't know the nature of Ham's reaction.
Do you
Does that
think
make sense?
Canaan got him father drunk?
No, I don't know what he did because Ham did something. So it sounds like maybe like, Crispy Canaan is more like curse him because of what Ham did to me. Like, I'm going to curse your son now. I don't think Canaan did anything. I don't see anywhere here where it says Canaan did everything, but it's more like, because you did this to me, I'm going to curse your son.
This one is so confusing.
This is very confusing.
It is confusing. But I do want to read to you guys something that I think is going to make things less confusing. Right? And I kind of want you guys to see it with me. So if you can go to, what is it? Leviticus, which is another book in the Bible, chapter 18, let's start from verse 6.
Okay, hold on. Leviticus is the L-E or it's the L-A? L-E.
Leviticus chapter 18, verse 6.
18.
And I guess I'll have to just read it out loud. But
Sure.
Get that. Let me know when you got it, Eugene.
There we go.
So I'll read
Leviticus
it.
18:6.
Yeah, I'll read it. None of you shall approach any one of his close relatives to uncover nakedness. I am the Lord. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father, which is the nakedness of your mother. She is your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness.
Can I read you exactly how mine reads?
Yeah.
So it's similar to yours, but it's very direct. It says, no one is to approach any close relative to have sexual relations. I am the Lord. Do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. She is your mother. Do not have relations with her.
Yeah. So read verse 7 again in your version.
Do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. She is your mother. Do not have relations with her.
Yes. So you see how that's translated?
It's so what version do you have, Eugene? I'm just curious.
I'm just reading Bible Gateway. What
version? Say like a version.
Oh, New International Version.
Yeah. So, and it's important to note
I could always change it too.
No, there's not a problem actually. It's perfect.
I just didn't realize until just now. I could change
Well, I just think it's so interesting that it's such a stark different. Like that's a very different word. I wasn't even considering.
Well, because I don't think it's a different. It's a very different word, but I don't think it's a different concept, and that's my point. I
don't think so either.
I think that's the clue, right? Because there's a phrase, uncover the nakedness of, doesn't mean just like seeing somebody. It's a euphemism for sexual activity, right? And on top of that, the uncovering the nakedness of your father doesn't necessarily just mean sexual activity with your father, but it means that it could also mean which is the nakedness of your mother, right? There's that equation that goes on there. So there's a thought that what the people then who are hearing the story, what they would hear what that to mean is that Ham had sexual relations with his mother, is his father's wife. And Canaan was the result of that. And so that's why Canaan is the one who gets cursed by so that's why Canaan is singled out, because Canaan is unique, right? And that's also what that means of like uncover one's nakedness, right? It doesn't necessarily just mean like seeing the guy naked and going backwards or whatever. It's really talking about Noah's wife.
I understand the interchangeable naked versus sexual, but not the sleeping with your father means sleeping with your mother, because here it says, back at Genesis 9:18, 22, it says Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside. Oh, he told them too. And then it says, sorry, I just got caught offside by that. But then it says, but Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked in backward and uncovered their father's naked body, which I would take literal because they don't want to see him. But the euphemism is that seeing them naked means sexual relations. But if Ham, I'm sorry, I'll go back to 20. It says Noah, a young man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked.
Mm-hmm.
Why is father and mother so interchangeable? I feel like that should be very direct.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is I think culturally at this point in time they were, right? It was. And that's why you can see later on in the different book that's the same term they use. The nakedness of one's father is the nakedness of their mother, right? It's just interchangeable. On top of that, look at the curse that he gives to Canaan, right? Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers. Who is Canaan's brothers?
Not Japheth, right? Because Shem and Ham
wouldn't they be his half brother?
Related to,
or is his brothers just Ham? You see what I'm saying? You see how it starts to make a little bit more sense?
Yeah, because Ham slept with his mom and had Canaan, and now Canaan is half brothers with Shem and Ham.
And that's why a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers, and let Canaan be his servant.
And you know that's really interesting.
I think it's kind of clear, right? Because 26 and 27 he says that too. So like he says, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers, and then he talks about Shem and let Canaan be a servant, and Japheth let Canaan be a servant. You see?
Yes. No, that makes sense when you say it that way. It's just interesting because I feel like the rest of that makes sense once you replace like uncover the nakedness as like having sexual relations, right? But like to me, that still seems like such an interesting, I don't want to say stretch, but I don't have a better word right now, but it kind of feels like a little bit of a stretch. And like, and even in like the faith study Bible side of Leviticus, right? Because Leviticus says like I understand saying like, yeah, nakedness of your father is interchangeable of nakedness with your mother, because you could say that's the same thing. And I see that because they're talking about that relationship. But even here it says like, what's it called? The idiom of uncovering nakedness is a common euphemism for sexual intercourse. It just says it's a common euphemism. Like, I guess like I'm just curious, like how did we get there? You know, I don't think I'm going to answer that now. I'd have to like literally look into it. But it just feels like a jump, I guess.
I don't think it does. Because remember, we're dealing with a language that is basically thousands of years ago.
No, I know. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying I'm curious how they figured that out, right? Like, what did they look back and see it used in other ways? Because I think an argument to agree with that change is the fact that once you make that change, you just say it's sexual intercourse and it's with specifically like Noah's wife, right? The rest of it makes significantly more sense. Right? Like, so I look at that and I go, yeah, once you make that change, the rest of this flows in a way that is, makes, it's easy to follow now. which is interesting. I would even say it's interesting to say, like, so it sounds to me like Noah passed out because he was drunk,
Mm-hmm.
and then Ham, because Noah wasn't there to defend his wife,
Mm-hmm.
Ham, I assume not by her will, had sex with Noah's wife because he was incapacitated, right? He took advantage of his father and also did this thing that was a bad thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And which is why, like, Noah's now angry. I'm curious now, with so much more of this making sense now, I'm really curious, what does the other brothers, when they come in and they're covering up the nakedness of Noah, what does that mean now? You
I think they're
know?
covering up his wife.
But so,
'Cause I think
like,
they both were in their tent. Does that make
but are
sense?
they covering up the act that's is the nakedness of that, is that the act, or is she
Ooh, I
just
see what
like
you're saying.
laying
what
there
you're
naked
saying.
now? Like, I'm curious, like, what exactly does that phrase mean now that we kind of have this different understanding?
Mm.
Yeah, because if I unclothe you and that means I had sex with you, what does it mean that, Franklin decides to put your clothes back on?
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a good question.
Yeah.
But what
I'm just
exactly did
curious
they
what that
do?
means.
And I feel like it just seems like, they
That's
took
a
a
really
garment,
good
laid them
point.
both around and walked backwards, covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backwards and did not see. Yeah, I'm wondering about that, right? Whatever they did, they must have, like, basically, they treated something with definitely with respect. They didn't even look. Their faces were turned backwards and they did not see.
Because I wouldn't think it's fair if one is a euphemism and the other one is a very direct text.
Yeah,
As
I
in,
think
if
their father is naked. Well, to uncover. Yeah, I see.
yeah, I don't think it's fair to say uncover
Yeah,
means have sex and then cover up means
and they
literally covering
covered the
you up.
nakedness of their father. I think they will be the opposite of having sex with somebody, which would be like an uncovering. Maybe.
Ooh,
Mhm.
or maybe it is literal, right? And we were talking about how this is poetry I don't know,
Mhm.
last episode, but a while ago. And it might be literal just because of the flow of words, where it's,
Mm.
look, they uncovered her, they had
Mhm.
sex with her. Now, the other two, to make it right, they came in, kind of consoled her, put her clothes back on.
Yeah,
And they're like,
I-
look, this is
that's
bad.
a
It shouldn't
really
have happened.
good. It's more of like a poetic negation, but literally at the same time.
Well, I mean, because if you think about it too, like,
Mhm.
if we're assuming it's rape, and I feel like that's a safe assumption,
Mhm.
right? Like, that, I feel like you kind of see that as like, they cover that person up, you know what I mean? They give them a blanket over them, you know what I mean? They're like, it's like it seems like that might actually be what they did. They turned around, they were like, we're not going to look at you naked, mother. We're going to walk over after this whole thing has happened. We found out this happened to you. We're
Mhm.
coming and we're covering you up and we're consoling you. Like, they're being there for their mother in a way that a child should be. I mean, obviously, hopefully not in that situation,
Mhm.
but they're definitely like doing the right thing, and that they are just not leaving their mother in that
State.
position, that state. Wow, that is not what I expected at all. It
It's
even says
dark.
here, because I'm looking at the study side of this Bible in the app that I'm using, and it says, like, after it says this could be an idiom. It may not be about Noah being nude, but an incident that greatly insults Noah. Ham's offense could be explained as voyeurism, which I don't know what that means, and it doesn't specifically say. Castration of Noah,
Voyeurism is when you
sodomy.
have sex outside of, or like in public places.
Is that what that means?
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's what voyeurism means.
Mhm.
It's in the vineyard.
Oh.
Voyeurism, the practice of gaining sexual pleasure from watching others when they are naked or engaged in sexual activity.
Oh,
Okay.
just like.
Well, and
Yep.
okay, and I can see why it could be that, because if you're talking about like the nakedness of your father as like the sexual relationship between your father and your mother, right? Then I could see it being like, maybe they were doing that, and then Noah passes out, and Ham hops in and does this terrible thing. You know what I mean? Like, I could see how that could be multiple parts of this. I don't know about castration of Noah. Maybe sodomy if he was interacting with both of them, which would be terrible. But I think because of specifically the look that we now have at Canaan, right? About like son of Ham was the father of Canaan, and how Canaan is cursed, and a servant to his brothers, and who those specifically are. I think that's like, I think that definitely, at the very least, it was the incestuous rape of his mother, and how that is. And so then when Noah comes to, it makes sense that he would curse Canaan. A servant shall he be to his brothers, the God of Shem, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be a servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be a servant. I'm curious what that means. Enlarge Japheth.
I have a question. Do they
Yeah.
mention women outside of Eve?
No, and remember
I
at
don't know,
this,
it's the
I
first
mean,
one.
at least not in Genesis.
I think that's why I'm
Yeah, like
more confused. Where it's, I think
It
that's why they're saying slept with your father, and now it's saying Noah by name because Noah is the father, and it says Noah awoke from his wine, his drunkenness, and cursed him. So I'm like, why didn't you just say his father woke up and cursed him, even though sleeping with your father means sleeping with your mother? I think sleeping with your father is saying sleeping with your mother, and then they go by men by name, and then women are referred to.
I think women aren't really at this point in time when women aren't thought of as
Yeah,
really
and then
much
not to
worthy
harp
of
on it, but
note.
did Leviticus come before this or after this?
Leviticus
Leviticus 18:6. That's not fair.
Yeah, women aren't treated and culturally, women weren't.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't even know the name of one besides Eve.
Yeah, I mean, they were only mentioned as like the wives of these people,
Yeah,
like
they're just
like
probably,
Noah's sons and their wives, for example.
Doing something to the wife is really just doing something to the man because the wife is just property at this point in that cultural mindset, right? And that won't even be challenged until later, and they get the law and stuff like that. So that's again. I think it's important to always look at like what would the people who were like the time that this was written, what would they be thinking? How would they be operating?
It's hard
What's
to do
interesting
that.
too is like we've talked like in the previous chapters about how man is evil from his youth, and by man I mean humanity, but obviously like that takes forms differently depending on the person and depending on the tendencies of those types of people, right? And I think because there's such a difference between man and woman, right? Like, a man, although there are plenty of women who could kick my butt, because man tends to be stronger than woman, in their role and parts of their purposes and such. It makes sense that part of the evil is pushing them to use that power not just to protect the woman in their lives, but also to treat them poorly, right? It's because of this baseness of evil. Because I was just thinking to myself, like, why would Ham even do this? And like, I think it's just because he had the power to do so, and so he took it because man is evil.
And I think
not
he
man,
like took it and then bragged about it to his brothers, thinking they would. I don't know why he would tell all his brothers that,
and for no other reason besides he was like, we have these evil tendencies, and he let them win, and that's. I mean, I'm not saying everybody wants to sleep with their mother type stuff, but like I think he basically was like, here's a corrupt thought, and because humans have these corrupt thoughts, and rather than resist it, I specifically didn't, and then it also juxtaposes with his brothers specifically doing the right thing afterwards in their reaction, so I think that's interesting. Now,
them after he did that is interesting. Like, why tell them?
I thought the same thing until Kenneth said bragged. I think
it's more of like, hey, look what I did, blah blah blah, and then they just like, no, we're not the same as you, right?
Yeah,
that's what I would think, and that's not really in the text. But I'm like, why else would he? Unless he felt guilty. I don't know. I don't know why else he would tell his brothers.
I mean, is there anything that says incest is a bad thing? Like, you know what I mean? So like as disgusting as a question that is, but
at this point in time, no. Well, so again, remember, like there's no 10 commandments, there's nothing. People are just living, doing what they have to do.
But also, and Kenneth, you've told me this before, like incest also happened back then. I mean, like especially in this story, and I know that I struggle on where the poetry ends and where, the metaphors start and where the historical text starts and etc. But like even right now, like when it was like, hey, Noah, you and your family are going to repopulate the earth, like that means incest has to happen. So I don't know if it's specifically in this moment because there's no rule against the incest that the incest is bad at this moment, even though it becomes bad later. I think it's more the fact that he took advantage of his father or his parents in general. His mom was defenseless. His father was drunk and asleep because of that, which, don't get me wrong, his father put himself into that state where, it's obviously still a reflection on Noah that he became a drunkard in that way.
That doesn't feel like a sexual motive. That feels like a power dynamic motive. Yeah, that feels like a power motive. I don't think, even if you're not allowed to, someone who is sexually attracted to family is a certain type of person, and it's not normal, and that for that person to take advantage of that rather than trying to figure out what's wrong with them. Who knows if he tried to figure it out later? We don't know, but that's someone who's sick in the head.
Well, can I ask another question too? Like, so did I just lose it? The idea of like, yes, this is a power dynamic, and never mind. I think I lost it. You just kind of inspired this. Say what you said again, Eugene.
What did I say?
You were saying like someone who would.
No, I got you. It's someone who would do that. It's sick in the head. I don't think it was a sexual motive. I think it was a power dynamic, like a power motive, and it's someone who is willing to sleep with someone of their own family.
Yes,
even if it's wrong.
So that's why, so I think we were just kind of talking about the idea of like, is it wrong? Well, did anyone say it's wrong yet? And I think just the existence of free will, it sounds to me that the infringement, and obviously there's exceptions to this rule, but it sounds like the infringement of somebody else's free will is like already conceivably wrong. So even though maybe God didn't say thou shalt not XYZ, if this is rape, if it doesn't say that you're not allowed to do stuff like that yet, it's not like you could argue that it means it's okay. It's like, no, we know God gave us free will. They would have known this at this point. I don't think this is a secret to them. I mean, same thing with like, for example, like when God wiped out the earth, he wiped out the earth with the floods, because he was like, they're doing evil and wrong things. Just because they weren't written down yet doesn't change the fact that things were good or bad. That's
something I want to bring up too. Like, and this kind of goes back to, I guess, a different conversation we had, I think, earlier. But like, I don't think you need to have written down rules to know good from bad. Like, you don't need God said do this and don't do this. I think there's a common expectation that if you're a human, you should generally know what's good and what's wrong, what's bad. You should generally know what's right and what's wrong, and kind of God kind of holds you to that. The fact that people may have some religious laws or stuff, it could be that's great, but even in the absence of like, oh, well, it wasn't written in the Bible, I couldn't stab this guy in his neck, like, okay, but like, why would you stab somebody? You know what I'm saying?
I have something on that too. It's like, because I feel the same way, but then things make me think differently, and I can't prove it, but I do feel that way, where it's being sexually attracted to a family member is something you innately don't have. And if you do have that, you're not like the rest of us. And so other than the, wanting to marry your mother as a child, where it's just that Freudian relationship that you have with her, where it's just so bonded and enmeshed, and that she's just caring for you and nurturing, that's what you're looking for in a partner, right? But then when you go to the other extreme of, look, if I see a bag of, like, somebody's purse in their car with the window down, and I didn't learn that it's not okay to do that, and if I want it, I can have it. If you weren't taught not to take what isn't yours, I don't know if you wouldn't take that purse that's in that car with the money in it.
I think, well, here's the thing. Like, what do you mean by taught? Explicitly or through your experience, right? So like you know how it's with an only child, it's harder to teach them how to share, and with a child, they think everything is mine. But when you have siblings, you're taught, no, you should share. You should let this person have this. Let this person take turns with this. But here's the thing: like, it never is that much in a vacuum, right? Like, if you're an only child, you might not learn it from your siblings, but eventually you're going to make some type of friend, and you're going to learn that lesson not because somebody explained it to you, but because you're observing the world around you and you want to fit in with the world around you and such. And I think that's kind of where, like, so if someone wasn't explicitly taught you can't take this, I think they would have that understanding, unless the culture was one where it was like, hey, no, everything is everybody's, this is something that we're cool with, explicitly.
But within the culture, isn't it taught?
Well, it is from existence, but not. That's why I asked, what do you mean by taught, right? So like here, for example, like I'm in terms of like incest, right? Like if we're taking this literally, incest was necessary, and then it sounds like there's a point where they go, no more. Maybe because we needed it to repopulate the earth, but it's actually not that great, so no more. Like, right? So it sounds like they did put a hard line on that type of a thing.
Yeah,
but
and I do think. Oh, finish your thought, actually.
Oh, I was going to pivot a little bit. I was going to say, at the very least, though, the idea of like that's why I'm not. I mean, in today's day and age, yeah, don't sleep with your mom. I'm gonna say, even if she wants to, don't do it. But I look at it and go, no, I mean, for real, like, yeah, because of what I'm about to say. In this scenario, I don't think it's as much about him sleeping with his mom as much as it is about him raping his mother, which is not only disrespecting his mother, in probably the most intense way you possibly could, but it's also disrespecting your father in that. So he's disrespecting both of his parents. He's taking advantage of the fact that his father is not there to defend his mother, and he's taking advantage of the fact that he's a grown man that can overpower his mother to instead satiate these hedonistic pleasures that I think we could all say is fair to argue, whether it's written down or not, he knew was wrong.
Are we assuming that it wasn't consensual?
Yeah, I think
yes.
that's an assumption. I was about to say it because like, and there's a good reason to believe that, right? Like because, well, Noah's drunk, so maybe that's the only way he could ever even do that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that's the main, and I think that's probably most likely, but I don't think that's actually the main point. I think the main point is the offense against Noah, because again, I don't. Unfortunately, at this point in time, I don't.
It didn't matter as much about the woman felt
exactly,
versus,
right? And I think it's more of like the woman was property of the man,
sure,
and the wrong was done against Noah. And so that's why Noah feels wronged. And that's why Noah's like, curse that son that's going to come out. Because now you got my wife pregnant. Like, what the hell? And he also, and it's also important to know, like, God's not mentioned in this as like him as a character.
Which that actually brings up my next question. Like, who is Noah to curse?
Yeah, he's just saying, like, well, I mean,
he could do that. Is this going to work?
We can curse each other and we even say them like.
No, I know, but my question is like,
exactly.
So is Canaan going to be this cursed child that has to be these servants? Is that just something they're forcing upon him? Is that mean like
I was gonna say maybe it wasn't a curse. Maybe he's just saying, look, treat your brother this way.
And I think that's really what it is. He's like, because remember, let's say the flood just happened. It's really just knowing them as his sons, really, and their wives, right?
Yeah.
So it's really only
this is after the flood, you said?
Yeah. So there's only 8 people, right? Noah, his wife, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, right?
You say Ham?
Ham.
Wow,
Ham.
We've been like ham.
I don't know.
Wait,
but
it's HAM.
It's HAM, right? Ham.
Yeah. Oh,
am I wrong? Am I saying it right?
Ham with a hard A.
Maybe it's just my
the hard A is crazy.
Ham. But like, yeah, I don't think like he has some magical cursing power. I think he's just saying like, it's just like saying, like, damn you, right? Like, and I want everyone to treat you like this, like a servant.
Well, that's why. So it sounds like they're almost like, you're beneath us in this way, even though I'm not gonna lie, I feel bad for the kid. I'm like, you didn't do anything wrong.
He just was born.
So I don't think this is the right thing to do, but it sounds like they're basically like enslaving Canaan.
Yeah, like, all right, this bastard kid, like, you can just serve the rest of your brothers, right? Like,
what is in 27? May God enlarge Japheth.
I think that's just more like a blessing. Enlarge, when you say enlarge, usually enlarging means like your family, your household, your estate, your wealth, your influence. He's basically saying, may Japheth have good fortune in him and his family.
Ooh, I think that's.
Then why not?
I didn't hear anything else said. Go ahead.
But then why not Shem?
I don't know. Maybe like Japheth.
It says
more.
Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, which is just an interesting.
But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what let him dwell in
Of
the
course,
tents
they
of
skip
Shem.
that in the study Bible too. I'm like, you guys don't
Yeah,
even know
like
what
what is that? Like,
means.
why does he like Japheth more? It just sounds weird.
It sounds like he likes Japheth more, but it's also blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. Like Shem is mentioned, but
Mm-hmm.
like only in this way. And then it says, may God enlarge Japheth and let him, Japheth,
Yeah.
dwell in the tents of Shem,
Mm-hmm.
and the Canaan be his servant.
Yeah.
So like it's just all that specificity of like
Oh.
we're gonna enlarge
Mhm.
Japheth, Shem, you're gonna live with. So let's say Japheth is okay. He's gonna be rich and he's gonna have a lot of means now, and that's what enlarge means, right?
Mhm.
And then Shem, you get to live with him. It sounds already like Shem is lower than Japheth, but also the like blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, the God of all of us, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess the god of Shem would really not necessarily mean like God is only the god of Shem, but I think that's more of like Shem is probably more of a religious person, maybe. Because
I don't know.
I mean, why would you
Maybe.
say the god of Shem?
I don't know.
I feel like Shem's probably a little bit more religious than his brother, so he's just calling him that.
That would be wild if Shem's a little more religious than his brother. Meanwhile, you guys just got off the boat that your dad built by the word of God, and he just wiped everything. I feel like if everyone involved here is not religious, like that's kind of crazy.
Well, who knows? Because I mean, like, listen, it's God didn't have a relationship. God didn't tell the sons anything. He just told it to Noah.
Yeah, I could just be like, Dad, you're crazy.
Yeah, like, all right,
Yeah,
whatever.
Dad,
oh,
you're
Dad,
crazy
you turned out to be right.
until-
It rained. Like you wouldn't
But it didn't
necessarily
just
believe
rain.
in. Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily believe in like a lot of
I don't
things.
know.
I
If,
think there's
if your dad,
Mhm.
and think of like how you think of it, like we all of us, how you think of your dads. You know, your dad, you're like, oh, dad, goofy guy. You know, like this guy you look up to. But sometimes your dad says some dad stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine your dad's like, it's gonna rain forever. It's gonna wipe out humanity. Everyone get on this boat. And you're like, all right, let's get on the boat for Dad.
Mhm.
So we'll get on the boat.
Well, think about it
and
like
then
this,
it
though.
rains. Hold on.
Mhm.
And then the depths of the waters explode, and it rains for 40 days, and you're up for 150 was it days in this
Mhm.
boat that settles on a mountain, and everyone else is dead. And you'd be like, what a coincidence! It really did rain.
Well, think about this. Like, what if someone was like, let's say 20 years ago, one of your
Sure.
friends or your sibling, your sister is like, you know what? I should put all of my money into this random thing on the internet. It's called like a Bitcoin, right? And God told me to do so. And you're like, whatever, right? Fast forward time, she's very, very rich.
Sure.
But is that a reason for you to be like, oh well, God's right? Or maybe she didn't
No,
say God told me.
but it would
Maybe
be
she said
different.
this guru told her. Right?
No, but it'd be very different if she was like, all right, you have to get this stock because every other stock is going to fall and we're going to have another Great Depression and
Mhm.
everyone in the world will be impoverished except
Mhm.
for me and the people that God told to do this.
Mhm.
If it was that extreme, I'd be like, this is
Well,
different.
that's like, maybe she didn't say God. Maybe she said some guru out. in the
Whatever.
realm. Yeah.
My point is,
But
like,
would that mean though that like some people would be like, yeah, I want to listen to that guru. Other people are like, I don't want to listen to everything that guru said.
But
Maybe they
if-
were just right about one thing, or
if
maybe it's not.
everyone on Earth died,
You would
for
have
what
to
you know,
believe, but like, okay, you
that's
guys are
very different than I invested.
Yeah,
early in
but there's also
Bitcoin.
everyone on Earth died, but okay, so then that's fine. But like, does that mean that you're now gonna dedicate your entire life to finding
Yes.
that? Not everyone would do that. Some would be like, "Wow, thanks, I'm alive," and let me go back to my life. You know what I'm saying?
But
so
I
there will be
can't because
varying
my
degrees
boss at
of
work is
loyalty.
dead.
I'm saying there'll be varying.
no, because
degrees
I
of
would be that
loyalty.
person that Ken is talking about, where I'm just like, oh, all right, like I look at you very differently now, but I don't. I'm just what? Like, how did you
If
know?
it was a whole maybe if it was like 500 people that came off the ark, I'd agree with you. But the fact that it's like
What would it matter?
this small family of
Yeah.
like people who like really intimately experienced this, although yes, Noah was the only one who I guess was directly spoken to. I don't know.
I mean, I also
you're
wouldn't
too
believe that
close to it.
everyone is dead, though. I would believe, all right, why is it just us? Why are we?
Mhm.
Because I wouldn't think we were the chosen ones. I wouldn't think my dad was the chosen one. I'd just be like, there's no way everyone is dead. And it goes back to James saying he thinks there's more people that existed than the people that they were telling you about when they mentioned Adam and Eve. So it's like, I don't think every single person, to rain and the entire like humanity to get washed away, other
Mhm.
than
Mhm.
a select few.
Mhm.
That sounds insane, and I don't know how believable that is. I
Well,
don't
that's
think that's
fair.
all
So-
truth.
So last episode, and I know you weren't here for this, Eugene, we did talk about, or at least I said that I don't know if I specifically believe it was these specific 8 people. I do think this world-ending event, however we want to describe that, happened and basically pushed humanity back to like a very small amount of people, not 8 specifically, right? So if you wanted to tell me that like, okay, like Shem represents those who are very religious in this sect of people that were left, not 1 out of 8 people who are left, I would get a little bit more behind that. You know what I mean? I could kind of see that. Whereas like, let's say humanity was, I don't know, what's a reasonable number? 1 million? If it's just 1 million people and it got knocked all the way down to 1,000, and you're telling me Shem is the representation of like these people, whereas like, you know, whatever, then I would kind of believe you, right? So like maybe Japheth, it's like, may God enlarge these people so that way these people can like continue to worship and be protected by, you know, those who are prosperous, and let those who whatever Canaan represents, you know, or Canaan. I guess it'd be Canaan, because let me ask you, well, really quickly, are these the people who become the Canaanites?
I believe so. But
so then I guess it is Canaan.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, Jim?
So if you told me, Franklin, today I have this really, really bad feeling. Something's going to happen. We need to go to the mountains. We need to get above elevation. We need to just get an elevation, right? Something's off. It feels off. None of us feel that, but we're like, okay. Let's just do it. And then something bad happens to everyone that, not even everyone, but most people that didn't go. I think I would believe you that something was off and you felt that. But if you told me God told you to do that, I think that's your justification for saying that something's going to happen.
Exactly.
But here's the difference. It wasn't just, hey, I have a bad feeling, right? Genesis 6:13. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark covered inside without pitch. This is how you are going to make it. He describes the dimensions. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. That is like very different from, I got a bad feeling, we got to get to some elevation. Like, and if all this, like if I started spitting like, guys, I've been contacted and XYZ specifically is going to happen, and then that specific thing happens, I'd understand you not believing me beforehand, but that specific thing that's like, how did you predict that happens and you had forethought? I feel like, you know, that's a little bit more than just like, oh, you had a hunch and your hunch was right. Like Noah didn't have a hunch. He had a narrative with details.
Fair. It's just so,
I would just say like,
it's just
even so, like people would have different. I can just still see how their sons are different and just show up different.
I could see it if sons are representations of like larger groups of people.
Well, and that kind of goes into the next piece. But before we go into chapter 10, I do want to bring up, I think it's important. I think I had that kind of understanding of this chapter with the uncover the nakedness thing, doing some research, and I'm like, oh, this makes way more sense of literally everything else. So after that, I was like, okay, there's one of the main justifications for slavery, for example, was from here, and they called it the curse of Ham, right? And how Ham would serve his brothers and stuff like that, and then all the bad people are from, because we'll see in chapter 10 who the descendants of Ham are. And so they used that to justify it, but I think that just came from a really, really poor, understanding, and people who just don't really read the Bible, but just are told. Because now you see like, oh, well, this has nothing to do with that.
Well, because also like the idea, first of all, it didn't come from God; it came from Noah. So like you could already say like, God did not make this. You can't justify slavery with what Noah wanted. But also on top of it, like, you can't just be like, hey, I found these random people, I'm going to enslave them because maybe they're descendants of the guy who slept with his mom. Like,
so what they thought was, and some people would teach this, like, well, the Ham is all the black people, basically, or people of color, right? Shem is the Semitic people, right? And Japheth are basically the white people who were enlarged, and that's kind of how that came out. And that's what they thought, and that's what they believed. And then it's just not. It doesn't really mesh with reality. It doesn't
To
even
me,
mesh
it
with
feels
the
like
text.
it's not what they actually believed. I feel like they just used the text as justification, and not that
Yeah.
they
Yes.
actually thought that.
Yes.
They use the text as justification, and the text didn't even say that, right? So that's kind of like when I want to bring that up. But I'm gonna read through. I'm gonna try to read through some of chapter 10.
I'm glad you're reading, Kenneth, because your voice is just beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Can I throw something out there real quick? I don't
yeah,
want to go
go
on a tangent, but it's the whole thing of justification, using the text as justification. As
Mhm.
in the Bible, it says white is purity, and it says black is evil. I think that's what people are using to justify
Mhm.
racism. Like that's it, it's from the text, and like the Bible says it, but no, that's not what that means.
Yeah.
Like I said,
It's just not-
that's not what that
they
means.
just take it out of
Also-
context. And it's like,
Well, that's
what?
why, like, I don't even know where that is. But my first thought is, like, first of all, black people, as a white man, black people are not black.
Mhm.
They are brown. Like, so if we're gonna take it like from those, it's like, okay, I've never met somebody that literally has black skin. You know what I mean? Like that's like, so obviously we're already stretching. And like my first thought is too, like it doesn't say those people, you know, white people are purity and black people. It actually says all men are evil, you know, mankind, right? And then I kind of look at that too and go, so what were they talking about at the time? Because it definitely wasn't humans. And so what is the justification of translating that over to humans? You know what I mean? Like, and that's, I think,
they take things that are poetic or metaphorical out of context, and that's
out
really
of
all it
context.
is.
And I think that's such a misuse of the gift of reason, right? Like God gives us the ability to look at this and other things and reason from it. And like, that's just such an irresponsible use of it.
So now we're gonna get into. I'm gonna read chapter 10. It's gonna be hard. But I think it's gonna be hard because there's a lot of names. But I do think that the concept of the lines blur between these people and the people's groups that they represent, because you're gonna hear words like, "This guy fathered this son," but the son is a place, not a people. And you're going to hear that a lot more, and you're going to realize, oh, this, yeah. So let me read from chapter 10, my version. These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Mesheth, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these, the coastland peoples spread in their lands, each with his own language by their own clans in their nations. The sons of Ham were Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabteka. The sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore, it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land, he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Kala, and Resen between Nineveh and Kala, that is the great city. Egypt fathered Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Kalsahim, from whom the Philistines come, and Caphtorim. Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Afterwards, the clans of the Canaanites dispersed, and the territory of the Canaanites extended from Sidon in the direction of Gerar as far as Gaza, and in the direction of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. To Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the elder brother of Japheth, children were born. The sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Aprashad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan fathered Almadad, Shelef, Hazarmazeth, I messed that one up. I don't know. Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Abamael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. The territory in which they lived extended from Mesha in the direction of Sephar to the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. These are the clans and sons of Noah, according to their genealogies in their nations, and from these the nations spread abroad the earth after the flood.
I do want to point out, it's very important. You did a very good job with those names. However,
That was difficult.
Jobab, you called Jobab, and I
Where?
like that.
Job.
You said Jobab. and I thought that was funny.
I only know a couple of names: Egypt, Gaza, Babel.
Well, and you said so.
Cush.
Some of these are names of actual like sons of these people, but some of like so. For example, like Egypt is the place, but are all the kids of Noah's kids places, or it's not that consistent?
It's not consistent. That's kind of the point, right? Like the place and the people are kind of both ends, right? Or
would it be
either
worth
or.
it for me to read the Faith Life Study Bible, like just the entire chapter of explanation really quickly?
Sure.
Or it's pretty long, so maybe not.
What's the TLDR?
Yeah.
I think what Ken said. I mean, but it's like I don't know. I mean, let me at least read where it says. So like it says, this passage is called the Table of Nations because the list explains the origins of most of the peoples of the ancient Near East. The names correspond to biblical names for major people groups, tribes, and regions. So like the generations, the Hebrew word used is toledoth, used throughout Genesis to refer to genealogical related information. And then it kind of goes into like, for example, like Gomer, then this name refers to the Cimmerians, who seem to be the same people group as the Scythians, right? Like it just kind of says like it. I guess I would say for anybody listening and for ourselves, if you were interested in truly seeing who all these names directly refer to, you know what I mean? Then it's worth looking into like some type of breakdown like this.
Yeah.
Like even like, for example, Cush, it says this term refers to the African kingdom of Nubia. You know, is that a current place that we can recognize? Is it just like, you know,
Cush
I don't know.
Cush is an actual place, right? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah. Was the actual place. It was south of Egypt. Is a different area. Part of Nubia and the Nubian kingdom.
Like Put, for example, it says
Mhm.
probably refers to Libya.
Mm-hmm. All those types of places.
Now, does that mean like, for example, like, so I know like the Canaanites, I guess, so the land of Canaan, of this Canaan,
Mm-hmm.
right, is cursed in this way because, you know, they were literally treated, they were enslaved, it sounds like, right?
Well, only Canaan.
Yeah, so like, for example, like I see Egypt is in there on Ham's side,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
Egypt is not specifically cursed in this way,
No,
or like,
yeah.
but I guess just because I know what's going to happen in Exodus, I know negative things about Egypt, so I'm curious if that's because they're related to Ham. You know, they're descendants of Ham. Are all people that are descendants of Ham? Do they have some issue going on
Well,
out
I
them
don't
during the
think
Bible?
so. I mean,
I
like
don't know.
Egypt in Cush, all them. I mean, Egypt.
I literally
becomes-
do not know. is what
Egypt
I'm asking.
becomes
And-
like a.
And I want to just really quickly iterate that I don't think that means that like that culture of people is a bad people.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
what I wanted to say, well, let's say there was like some sort of curse. It would only go through Canaan, not through Cush or Egypt or Put, right?
Okay.
Um,
That's
It
what
would-
it sounded like.
yeah, that's exactly what it says. And if you read through like from verse 15, like the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Gershites, all these ites that come from the Canaan, those are the same ones that later on when Israel goes into Canaan, the land of Canaan,
Mhm.
those are the people they're fighting, right?
Interesting.
They're not, but like Egypt is becomes a world superpower, right?
Oh,
Jesus lives
wait.
in Egypt for a certain upon a time before he comes back into Galilee.
So,
Yeah.
Ken, can you go back to under the Hamites? Can you go to 13?
13. Yes.
And
Mhm.
what is yours read?
Mine says Egypt fathered Ludim, Anamim, Lehebim, Naphtahim.
Okay, so this is where the confusion is for me. So Egypt, mine says Egypt was the father of the Ludites,
Mhm.
Anamites, Lehabites, Nephites, Pathrusites,
Mhm.
Casluhites, from who the
Philistines.
Philistines came,
Mhm.
and Cathrophites.
Mhm.
So it's essentially the same, but for me,
Mhm.
this sounds more like a city than a father, where it says these people are from Egypt, versus your version sounds like actual names of people
Exactly.
that were
Well,
born
mhm.
from that person.
So here's where the problem is, right? In Hebrew, and I guess this version just tries to keep a little bit more things. In Hebrew, any word that ends in im, like im, is
Mhm.
usually like a class or type of entity, right? So yours says the Ludites, right? And then the Anamites or something like that. Mine says the
Mhm.
Ludim or the
Got it. That makes sense
Anamim,
now.
right? So it's like kind of, that's what I'm saying. It's both and either or, right? Like we don't know if it's a person or a place or a people group.
Mhm.
It definitely goes back and forth. But
Yeah.
it sounds like
It's definitely
yeah.
that type of poetry of like,
Yeah, and so it's saying that Canaan was put in Cushan Egypt.
And I guess
Oh,
too, like,
no, I'm sorry. No, Put is one of the sons. Never
sons
mind.
of.
and if you, that's why I feel like the way that they probably were able to figure this out, you know, because this was not written to us, is that they knew of all the cities, so they recognized city names and went, "Oh, that's a city." So the
Mhm.
name that talks about who established that city is a person.
Mhm,
Like it was
mhm.
probably much easier for them to discern.
Yeah.
You know,
Because remember, in this thing too, like I don't even think this is comprehensive. I think it's just like, oh, you know, you guys have heard of all these places. This is where they kind of come from, right?
yeah.
So,
But it's
yeah,
interesting. Like even says things like, you know, all the places associated with Nimrod, which isn't that a mean thing to call somebody?
Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
Just
I don't know.
Nimrod.
I don't know why Nimrod became a.
Well, because he seemed like a pretty successful guy, you know. It
Yeah,
says
I know,
all the
right?
places
Like, what is
associated
it?
with Nimrod are
Remember?
Mesopotamian, and Mesopotamia is like, you know, a
Mhm.
great spot. It's also interesting to kind of think back
Mhm.
to the pre-flood stuff and think like for example, we talked about like, oh, Mesopotamia, like maybe like that fertile area was
Mhm.
where the Garden of Eden used to be, kind of a thing. Because I think it was like up, like heaven and earth were together. But like Mesopotamia is still, that fertile crescent's still there, you know, it's still a good place to settle. So I guess like not specifically, you know what I mean?
Just you said fertile crescent. Never mind.
No, say
The
it.
classes we took as kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our teachers.
It stuck with me.
Mhm.
Tell the teachers.
Oh man. But
Yeah, very
like,
interesting.
yeah, all these names, and I do want to kind of emphasize, so like that concept, like, well, all the black people were cursed with Canaan. I'm like, I don't know. So that's why they had to call it the curse of Ham instead of the curse of Canaan, even though it's actually the curse of Canaan. And
Can I
then
ask you a
for all these
question?
things, yeah. What's up?
What? So, like you say, the curse of Canaan. What indication do you have that Canaan was black?
That's another huge, great point, right? So again, people who misuse this text were like, well, it was the curse of Ham because Ham did the wrong thing, and all these countries like Cush, because Cush is a real place. Like they know the place Cush and they know the place Egypt, right? That's where all the black people. Those are Northern African areas, right? With probably black people, and they're all cursed, right? So they're basically twisting and reading into the texts these things that don't really make much sense, with a lot of different what's the word, with a lot of different I don't know what's the word when you're putting something into, I don't know, they're just making things up. And you know, like maybe very well those people of Cush, Egypt, were black, right? But they were from Ham's actual wife.
But that's what I'm saying. So like right now, like while you were explaining that, I went down and I was like, okay, so who did Canaan father? And like, because if we're talking about like, you know, Canaan was treated like because it specifically says this curse, you know, or was enforce against Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
Could you say like, hey, you should have done it to him instead, and then put it down all of his lines? You could have, but it doesn't say that. So sorry, it just doesn't say that. And I'm looking, and like, it's not any of the nations that I recognize, which is like, I mean, Sodom and Gomorrah, yes, but they're not here anymore. But like, it says as far as Gaza, right? And like, that's not black people. So like, I look at this and I'm just like, so I guess like they had to justify it as the curse of Ham to be able to justify the racism. But like, I guess I look at that, I don't know, there's so many things, even like modern thinkers where they're like basing their entire like arguments off, I don't have any good examples. Actually, I do have a good example, but they make all these arguments and then they go, well, where's like the moment where you kind of like pivot from everybody else? And you look at that moment, you go, oh, you took a leap there.
Yeah.
So everything that came after that, and I could not coming after the guy, but I think of Terrence Howard.
Oh yeah.
You know, and like he was talking to, I forget the scientist he was talking to on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was like, "Wait a second, did you round up here?" And he went, "Yes." And we went, "Then everything you're basing this off of, like you can't do that, you know." So like here, I'm looking at it, and because people went, "It's actually the curse of Ham now," like, but it doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that. And also, that curse is not a curse from God. It's just an upset father, right?
Yeah, we already did that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things there. But it's very easy to read whatever you want to read or use the Bible wrongly and then convince people who don't have the time or the ability or whatever or the will to actually read it themselves and just say like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So, you know.
Now, kind of just like going forward, because like I guess I'm kind of looking at like, okay, I wonder why, besides just telling us where things came from, like, but why include it in the Bible? Why is this something that like, they were like, we have to make sure we tell this part in this level of detail? And my focus does still go back to Canaan, right? So I'm curious, like, so are all the peoples that we know of that come after Canaan, were they all basically enslaved? Because like, it sounds like from my limited understanding of the Bible, it sounds like the Canaanites were just the bad guys going forward for a while.
Yeah, so in the times of this is written, right? So I think at this time, Israel is just wandering in the wilderness, right? This is after they left Egypt, but before they get into their promised land, which is Canaan, right? Basically, what's going to happen is Israel is going to leave Egypt, no longer slaves in Egypt. They're going to wander in the wilderness for about 40 years, and then they're going to go into Canaan and claim it for themselves.
Okay.
Right? So Canaan is framed in their mindset as the enemy.
Just because of this? Because I look at it as I'm like...
Not because of this at all. I don't think... I think this is just... I mean, maybe this is true, right? Curse speak. Maybe that's exactly what happened. Noah cursed Canaan, and they treated Canaan, the brother, as a servant of their brothers, right? Who knows if that extended... I don't think that extended down to their children or their people groups or stuff like that. You know, maybe it was just a personal thing, but either way, it frames something of like... It frames it too. Like it frames just an understanding of who the Canaanites are and what they're about to go into.
Yes, and that's I guess my question is like, so is that view of the Canaanites, is that intended by God?
That view intended by God?
Yeah, like so for example, I mean even the fact that like, all right, Israelites, I'm assuming God's the one who told them that land is for you, go get it from the Canaanites. So like why I'm curious like why are it sounds like the Canaanites are like wrongly vilified right now from where we are. So I guess I'm curious.
I guess this is more spoiler, right? And I don't want to lose Eugene, but this is kind of a little bit more spoiler. The reason why God keeps Israel in Egypt as basically slaves for up to 400 years is because God says people in Canaan aren't evil enough for me to kick them out of their land, right?
So he kicked the Israelites out of their land.
What?
And sent them to he sent the Israelites to Egypt because they needed to go through that.
Well, he sent the Israelites Egypt is not part of Canaan. He didn't free the Israelites from Egypt because he had
Egypt is of Ham, right?
Yeah, Egypt's just whatever. But Israel had nowhere to go, and Israel is not going to go to the land promised to them, which was in Canaan, right? Because if Israel were to go to Canaan, they'd have to displace the Canaanites to live there. God's not going to let that happen because he says, we'll see it later on, word for word, the sins of the Canaanites are not high enough to justify me kicking them out of their land for you, right? So I say that to say, I don't necessarily think the Canaanites are just evil. Like, I don't.
Okay, but so like
Mhm.
it sounds like then later on the Canaanites do something worth
Yeah, I
justifying.
mean, they start doing
Israel
like
to-
child sacrifice and
Oh, okay.
cannibalism and other crap. But
But I think that's an important thing to say because the way they've always been characterized to me is like it always sounded like the Canaanites were just kind of the bad guys. When it sounds like no, not specifically. They're bad when they're bad, and they're not bad when they're not bad.
exactly.
And I think that's important, especially because like if people really use this part of the text to justify these horrible things,
Mhm.
it sounds like they're not actually reading into the detail of the text, where it's like Noah's the one who quote unquote cursed Canaan, right? It's not that God put a curse on Canaan and his descendants, and Noah's not God. I don't
Yeah,
worship Noah,
he didn't do that.
you know. So that's important. And then we look at it too as like, we'll eventually, like you said, find out that like, yeah, Canaan didn't do anything wrong, and so didn't get kicked out of their land until they did do something wrong and deserved to be kicked out of their land. And like we'll approach that too and talk about that when we get there. So that's just kind of an interesting way to look at it because I guess I'm kind of just trying to make sure with the peripheral knowledge that I have, I'm trying to like still give this a clear read through and be like, okay, with what we know so far, what are they trying to tell me?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that because I think that maybe we'll get this is what my vision or understanding is as I reread the Bible over and over again. I'm like, oh, well, basically the whole Bible is a story of people having no understanding of what God is about and what they're doing, what God's doing, and them having their own understandings and whatever. Like, so when by the time Jesus comes on the scene and is like, hey, love your enemies, do whatever, they kill him. Like, because their mind is phrased in a completely different way. Like they're like, oh, Jesus come back, help us kill the Romans and make a Israel state of, and God's like, no, I'm not trying to do that. Like there's no problem with Rome. I don't really have a problem with that. You just have to love each other, right? And that's just like it's so contrasted with everything. And then when you look at the Bible, and it's like, oh, people pull these other things, like, but if you read it, like God didn't curse anybody.
And I think that's
all he did in the previous episode. He just says like, oh, everyone's evil. I'm not going to destroy anything. That's the last thing God said.
Yep.
Everyone's evil. I'm not going to destroy anyone anymore.
That's, I think, a really important thing to kind of look at is like, as we look at this, as like people who know about Jesus now, it's like, and we talked about this last episode, the idea of like looking through the lens of like, we do have Jesus. It's important to do that, but also to look at it and go, if I didn't have Jesus and was looking at this, just like we just had the Old Testament, right? Is it still a justified view that they have? And the answer seems to be so far, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Wow. I didn't think we'd get anything out of this, like long list of names that we had Ken read and not me. No, I mean, I really was like, I don't know. As we're going through,
I want to hear. You know what, Eugene? I want to hear you read verse 2. Just read verse 2 to 5. I want to hear you read the names. These are easy ones.
Yeah. So the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai. I read Javon.
Javon, I like that.
And Tubal, because we also know Javon, but like and Tubal.
Yeah, right.
Mesca and Tiras, the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Raphath, and Togarmah. Yeah, Togarmah. And the sons of Javon, Elisha, Tarshish. This is where I'm glad you made me do this because this name is when I was like, that's not what mine says. So Elisha, Tarish, and Kittites or Kittites. I get Kittites.
Yeah, you're probably gonna say because mine is Kittim, right? The IM.
Yeah, mine is Kittites and the Rodanites. From
what
these,
did you say? The Rodanites.
No, ours says Dodanim.
Mine says Dodanim.
Yeah, mine says and the Rodanites. From these, the maritime peoples spread out into their territories by their clans within their nations, each with its own language.
So is this the Italians going to the Mediterranean?
Mediterranean peoples. Maybe. How'd
you get that from what I said?
Yeah.
To the coastal people, the maritime people. How close are we to any other body of water? I don't know.
Oh,
the maritime, the coastal peoples, yeah, because it would be the coast of that Mediterranean Sea. If you're in like the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I do want to put out there that when Eugene was in high school, that's how he read anything. So it's not just because of the.
Oh man. Oh
They
yeah,
were
yeah.
calling Eugene to read.
So
and I'd be
you know
like,
what,
"Nice.
Franklin? How about you starting from verse 22?
Let's go.
Yeah, look at you.
I'll do
Go
it.
ahead.
Verse
I'll
22
do
to
it.
verse 30.
I hope people are staying for this part. That's
I know
for
this
sure.
is like, let's see how
22.
you really do.
The sons of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arpachshad. No,
That was
Arpachshad, Lud, Aram, and the sons of Aram, Uz, Hul,
Ooze. I like that
Gether,
name. Ooze.
and Mash. Apashad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was
Peleg.
divided, etc. Yeah.
Mhm.
You want to keep going?
Oh yeah, no, you're going down to 29 and finishing.
Okay.
29.
And his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan fathered Alumad, Selef, Hazarmaveth,
That was
Jereth, Hadaram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab.
Jobab.
All these were the
Jobab.
sons of Joktan.
You
Wow.
you
too
redeemed
bad.
yourself towards the end, but
Yeah.
boy, that
It's
started out
rough.
rocky.
It's fun.
That started out rocky, man. Laughing at me.
I think you
Gomer-
messed up at Arpachshad. I think you
That
need
one
to.
was rough. That's a hard one. There's a lot of
That
consonants.
started out rocky.
I like
still wish it
Peleg.
was Goomer instead of Gomer.
Peleg. Peleg's a good name.
It's probably more like Peleg or
Peleg.
Peleg. I don't know.
Peleg.
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 Kush.
Very cool.
Put. All right, yeah, these are good names.
These are good names. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm getting some.
Which
baby
one are you
names
naming your
now.
kid?
No, like
A buddy of mine, when his first son was being
Tubal.
born, I was like,
that
"What's
name,
the name?"
Tubal and Tubal Cain. I love that name.
What's it called? A friend of mine was like, "I was like, oh, what's the name of your son gonna be?" And he was like, "I'll give you a hint. It's a name in the Old Testament." And I was like, "Oh, there's a lot in there." He went, "Yep, narrow it down." I was like, "Okay, I don't think it's Joe Bob."
Jobab.
Oh, speaking of naming your kid, so there's a show called Power, and I don't know if you guys
Mhm.
watched it,
Well, I know.
but the spinoff is called, one of the prequels is called Raising Canaan. It's not spelled the same way as in the Bible. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, it's not. But the relationship Canaan has with his father and his mother makes so much sense for the show now, where it's not a direct correlation,
Mhm.
but he has this very unhealthy power dynamic, this relationship with his mother, and he
Mhm.
also has a terrible relationship with his father, and he tries to kill his stepfather. So like it
Mhm.
feels like
Interesting.
some of it came from here, where it correlates a bit, but not solely based on the story of.
Yeah, it's
Just
interesting.
an interesting look on the show. Now it changed everything for me after reading this.
We have our media recommendation. Usually, only when James is on the podcast, he does those. But I guess Eugene is taking his place today. I love that.
You're welcome.
There we go. This has been, I think, one of the most confusing passages we've read so far.
Especially because things started out of order. That's why it was so like knowing that Leviticus was before this, was after this. I'm like, how far after? Because I'm like, why would you wait to explain that?
But like I said before, I don't think it was. I don't think it needed to be said specifically, like that specific thing.
We both didn't know until we read
It's
that.
for,
So I think it
for
needed
us. For us, it's something that we need to explain to. But for them, I'm pretty sure that's a common phrase.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Like,
what
it's
is
like
the
a way to-
context of Leviticus?
Context.
Like, yeah,
Well,
like what-
Leviticus,
who's
one
that
of the
written to,
times
or-
that Moses goes up on the mountain and comes back, he comes back with a whole bunch of rules and laws. Not like this is after the 10 Commandments.
Sure.
And he comes up with a whole bunch of rules and laws for Israel, who are now basically wandering in the wilderness to follow. And part of this is just things not to do. Like, hey, don't have sex with your dad's mom or your
Yeah.
dad's sister or your wife's sister or your wife's mom. Like things that I guess now are kind of common sense, which then
Well,
needed to
and
be
even if they
explained.
were common sense back then, like we still put into law that you can't murder people, even though we all know it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So just
Mhm.
because they wrote it down later doesn't mean that it wasn't
Already
wrong
known. Mhm.
before.
Mhm.
I feel like
Yeah,
it's
I
only
think-
written down now because now you can't say I didn't know.
Exactly.
But
Well,
I think that's what that is too. It's saying
That is
like,
probably the most astute thing I've heard Eugene say. And I don't think he knows why. But yes, it's written down now because now you can't say you don't know. That's going to be like one of the most important concepts in all of the Bible later on. Yeah, if you didn't have the law, you were excused from breaking it, right? But the moment it's written down, now you're no longer excused from breaking it, and now you're morally held responsible towards it. It actually puts a burden on you.
Yes,
It'd
I
be
was about
better
to
if
say,
you
like,
you didn't know.
when there's room for interpretation, as long as the intent is righteous, like, and obviously it's well reasoned, you're just wrong. It's like you can get away with it, I feel like. But once it's like, no, we've all decided this is the interpretation we're going by. So if you do this thing, it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like for example, let's use the incest stuff, right? Like, I know based on our culture, like try to remove yourself from, your entire upbringing and experience of life. If you don't mind, if that's something you wouldn't mind just doing really quickly for me, forget everything you know, except for fine dining and breathing. Then
we got nothing on a name.
Then why would sleeping with your mother be wrong if you didn't know that it was wrong, right? And the answer is like, like you don't know, for example, that incest could lead to like genealogical issues and like whatever. Like it's just like why is that wrong? Like you can make an argument as to like I don't specifically know. And that's why, like, in that moment, it's not just about him sleeping with his mother. There's all these other things in there, right? Whereas if we all decide sleeping with your mother is wrong because of what we know collectively as a society, and we all agreed upon this and X, Y, Z, well, now you can't come to the conclusion yourself. We've decided it's wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes and no, because I think something like that specifically is one of those innate feelings that you get where you're like, this feels yucky, whether or not it's right or wrong.
I think so too, but like if somebody goes, no, I didn't get that feeling.
Well, now they have no excuse. Yeah, that makes now it more concrete, right? Yeah, it makes it more concrete.
Yeah. So,
all right, this was great.
This was great. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, incest is wrong. All right, let's
that's the moral, everybody. Incest is wrong. Write it down. Write it down.
Where
so you
to leave
don't forget.
On that note. That's a great note to leave on.
You learned something new today.
Ew.